Hi, this is Jamey with Stonemeyer Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite game mechanism in Myrmes, an action selection game about running an ant colony. Myrmes has a lot of different mechanisms going on, and I enjoy a lot of them, but there's one that really stood out to me. In Myrmes, you play a series of years. You're playing 3 years of the game. There are choices that you make in 3 seasons of the year, and then the last year, winter, is kind of an upkeep, a feeding phase for the game. Um, and in those 3 phases, at the beginning of every year, you roll 3 dice: a red die, a yellow die, and a green die, and they represent spring, summer, and fall, not in that order. And the numbers on those dice correspond with kind of a bonus chart on your player mat. Every bonus chart is the same, and basically it's just a line of numbers, and it says like on 3, whenever you harvest, you get +3 cubes, or whenever you make an army ant, you get another army ant. And so in the spring, so every round, like say we're in the spring round, and the number, say the number 5 is on the green die. Players put a little token on the number 5 on your player mat to show that that round, if they take the 5 actions, so I can't remember exactly, I think that's the army ant one. So in the spring, in this current spring, if I take the army action, I'm going to get +1 worker. And what this does a few clever things here. The first is that it adds a lot of variety to the game, because every game is a little different in terms of what those dice will be, and they equally affect all players. So all players will have access to that bonus this round if they want it. So it adds a lot of variety. 2, it points you, in a game where there are like a lot of choices to make, it points you or nudges you in a direction. It kind of says, okay, this round you might want to think about doing this. You might want to use this bonus, which by itself would be interesting, but the game then adds a really interesting extra layer to it. So it hones that decision space a little bit, and then it broadens it when you're ready for that, because you can use larva tokens. I think that's what they're called. They're white cubes. You can, if you have larva tokens, you can use them to adjust the position on that bonus track. So say the number 4 was rolled in the spring. But I really want that army bonus this round. It's really good for me this round if I have that. I can take one of my larva tokens and put it next to, so I have a token on 4 to represent the global bonus that everybody's getting, or I can put a larva token on 5 right next to it and get the 5 bonus instead. It's not, if we were playing it correctly, it's not in addition to the original bonus. You're adjusting what the bonus is just for you. And if you have a bunch of larva tokens, which is fairly easy to do in the game, you can save a bunch of larva, you could adjust it all the way across that track. You could go from 4 all the way down to 0. There's a 0 that you can employ, and there's also a 7. So you can really push the boundaries of your bonus. And it gives you essentially complete flexibility, which is really, really intriguing, that the game both narrows your decision path because it nudges you in a certain direction, and then it broadens it when you're ready to make that type of choice. Which I really, really love. And I love that there's a 0 and a 7 on that track, because these are 6-sided dice that you're rolling. I don't know if you can hear a little sound in the background. My cat's going crazy with a cat toy right now, a little bell toy. But I really love that with, even though there's 6-sided dice, there's 6 bonuses, it also adds a 0 and a 7, which will never be rolled, obviously, because there's no 0 or 7 on the die. But it says, okay, if you want to, if you're ready, if you have the larva, you can bump this up to a really special bonus, or bump this down to a really special bonus. And those bonuses are just a little bit better than the 1 through 6 bonuses. I love this system. I mean, this was, when I was playing the game, I was just fully engaged in that aspect of the game in particular. And as I think about the game in hindsight, I wonder like what would have happened if we had rolled all 6s the first round, or a 6 and a 1, or it would have really changed the decisions we would have made, and the different paths we could have taken in that game. I really like that element. You've probably seen that I'm not a huge fan of games with rounds and phases. I don't like that construct in games all that much, despite viticulture having rounds and phases. But in Myrmes, I definitely really like this element. It really enhances the game rather than slows it down through an artificial construct of rounds or phases. So I highly recommend this bonus path in Myrmes, this global thing that affects all players and gives players the chance to adjust it. If you have a favorite mechanism in Myrmes, or you have another game that has this type of path where there's a global bonus that affects everyone and changes their decision path in each game, I'd love to hear about that as well. Thanks.